Hey, we're here. It's another episode of Haven Bros. And we don't have Ben yet, but we have Raider Rick.
Yo.
Raider Rick, how you doing?
Doing all right. I'm glad I got the memo about our matching shirts tonight.
Oh man, it's Ben will be along in just a minute. He just sent a text, so we know he's coming. So now we can talk about beer before he gets here, and then we'll wait till he gets here to talk about the big stuff. So
right.
What do you said you just grabbed a better beer? What do you got going on tonight?
I've got Hildy's Helles from Giesenbau Beer Company. It's from a small brewery a little south of the cities. It's a Munich Helles. It's tasty, nice, clean, lovely on a summer evening.
Aha, I see how it goes.
What
Okay, well, I went to the local liquor store here in McFarland, and they got a whole bunch of Giant Jones in just recently. This one is Golden Strong Ale. Yeah. So apparently they make a lot of Belgians. They make a lot of Belgian styles. And they have, this one is, just wait, I gotta pull it further away. Belgian style, once again, Golden Strong Ale. And Medusa persists. This bright day, effervescent Belgian style reflects tenacity and strength. And it's 8.8 ABV. So they make a lot of strong stuff too, which I like.
A lot of the Belgians will pack a bit of a punch.
I like that. And we talked about it. I think I said it last week. For some reason, they've made a beer that doesn't give me gas. I don't know how they did it. It's almost a miracle on this planet that beer doesn't give me gas. And they have figured it out.
Which beer was it?
All of them. All of the Giant Jones beers do not give me gas. It boggles the mind. Well, really does.
You know, if they're making Belgians that are well made, they're usually highly attenuated. There's not a lot of extra sugar and things for yeast or your gut bacteria to work on. You know, if they're filtering them, getting rid of the yeast, it's going to make you a little less flatulent. So,
hey, good. Well, maybe you just solved it. Whenever I see you next, I'm going to bring you a pint.
Sounds
and
good.
give it a whirl because, yeah, it's a cool place. All right, Ben's coming along in a minute. We're going to talk about some Packers we have expectations for, and good and bad. Maybe the ones we should, because a lot of people are talking about how we got to temper our expectations for certain Packers, and we got to do this for other Packers, and some other Packers, like we talked about, are overhyped last week. And let me just clarify before we continue on. First of all, I think I'm going to wait for Ben for the one part, but I did want to just say that the whole point that I was trying to make, the main point that I was making last week was that Jaire Alexander, not that Jaire Alexander is not a good player, just that he's not an all-world corner, and Rasul Douglas is a damn good player. And they're pretty comparable. And if those two guys can have really good seasons this year, that can go a long way in making this defense perform the way we hope it'll perform. So anyway, I was not trying to put down Jaire Alexander. I was just trying to say that I don't know. Am I frozen here? Am I coming back?
You're frozen, but I can hear you okay. Your audio stream's fine.
All right. Well, let me just make my video go away. I don't know. Well, I'll just stay frozen.
That's what everybody wants.
No. Ben is here.
Ben is here drinking. Why am I frozen? Oh, it's probably these kids on my Wi-Fi. Oh. Your kids are causing me problems. That's it.
Wait a minute. Rick's at home.
Rick just sent his whole family down here so he could be alone.
I got work to do. Someone's got to take care of the smelly dog.
Smart move. I wish I could do that sometimes.
But
I'm trying to come back.
I think your point, right? I mean, you're comparing the two of them. I think it's just the standard, the hype, whatever, right? I mean, we've talked about it in past shows where the media spins up some of these players to be something they're not. You know, statistically, Jaire and Rasul are quite similar, but one of them's getting paid a heck of a lot more. One of them is just walking on water, can't do anything wrong, and the other one, he had a rough year. And a lot of that's just perception, right? What are you actually seeing on the field versus what are you hearing in the media? So I don't think it has to be taken as you were slamming Jair saying he wasn't good. It's just, is he as great as the media is portraying him to be? Or what sort of return are you getting on your investment? Which I think are two different ways of looking at the same thing. So,
Yeah, and when everyone talked about how Douglas had a down year, he had a down year. Well, look at the numbers. Is that a down year? One guy it was almost exactly the same statistical year, and one guy was all pro, second team all pro, and a pro bowler, and everybody said how great he was. And the other guy had a down year. I don't get it. Anyway, that was the whole idea. And the other part was to point out the targets, because that myth busting needs to happen. It needs to happen all the time, because everybody keeps throwing it out there, and it's simply not true. Simply not true.
Like Kenny Clark needing help, right? I mean, we heard that for 3 years. That
we still hear it.
Kenny needs help. Kenny needs help. Well, Kenny needs to get off his single team block and do something.
Well, he does, but he doesn't do anything after he gets off the block. Yeah. Anyways, I just want to say, because we're getting some new viewers, which is awesome. Ever since the Don Mikowski picture, Aaron Rodgers show, we got 300 and some views, which is never happens for us. Usually it's like 50 or 70 or somewhere in there. And the fact that Rodgers is gone should make our shows more positive anyway, just to begin with. But
hell's to the on that.
More often than not, Jason, you have a tendency to really smack the crap out of guys that you think get too much pub, because you are like me. We are both underdog fans. We always love the underdogs. That's the way it's always been for us. Even though you were never an underdog your whole life, you've always been Mr. Homecoming King, Mr.
I was I was the underdog to you my whole life, so don't give me that.
Are you kidding me? I was a senior in high school. I was the lead singer and lead guitar player of a band. You sang 2 songs, and people in our high school called it Jason Hafman's band.
It was Hafman's brother's band.
No, they called it Jason Hafman's band. The popular kids called it Jason Hafman. I was not popular. Jason was Homecoming King, Prom King, Smooth Dog. He got all the attention. So don't talk to me about underdogs. If anybody should be complaining about guys that get overrated, it's me, because I had to watch you get overrated, even over me. Until we got to college, then, of course, then the truth came out, and then people were like, oh, whoa, geez. Oh, yeah, this guy's the man. And then I was the man. And then you were also the man. And I brought you.
All right, let's not relive. Let's not go on all that. What I'm trying to say is correct. You're correct.
People are, we got some new guys, Robert or something, who says he checked us out, and he's excited to check us out. He likes our show.
Appreciate it, Robert.
But he's like, man, you guys are kind of bagging on guys. He likes it. He doesn't want to hear you bagging on him. And here's the thing.
I get it.
I just want to say, take a listen to our favorite players in Packer history. Jason's favorite Packer of all time is Patrick. I mean, Lucas Patrick. That's even his mom. That's not his favorite Packer. Her favorite Packer of all time. So the fact is, Jason's favorite Packer of all time. That should tell you all right. You need to know right there. Jason sees the diamond in the rough. My favorite Packers are Don Mikowski and, Terry Mickens and Aubrey Matthews and, guys like that.
Aubrey Matthews.
And of course, Aaron Jones and the guys. But anyways, so you got to see, we like what we most often do on this show is we love to highlight a guy that other people don't talk about as much, which is why when we did the radio show, we had our whatever it was, unsung hero section, which was my favorite part of the show, because we got to talk about usually Josiah DeGuara, because he's always unsung hero, but other guys who were able to make plays that nobody talked about, and that's something that we love. And so when it bothers us when guys who do make plays and are good players just get way too much headline. And I know that's just the way it is. And it's one thing when it's a quarterback who gets it all the time, but we're seeing it with guys like Kenny Clark and Alexander and, pretty much the whole overrated crew that Andy Herman talked about, other than Quay Walker. Though I'll say something about Quay Walker I did not realize, but we'll talk about that a little bit. Anyways, so anybody who's checking us out and thinks we're a little too negative the last episode or a couple episodes, or, and thinks we should be better with Rodgers gone, we will be. We're excited about the future. We're not going to harp on guys making mistakes. What we do want is just we expect more from players who are making more money. If you're going to make the big money, we expect you to play like you're the big player guy. And some of these guys aren't doing that, but are still talked about as if they're making the big plays, even though they're not making the big plays. That's all.
Yeah, it's happened our whole lives. I want to go to Rick here in a second. It's happened. We've seen it every year, whether it was back in the 90s with certain guys, 80s, whatever. all this whole time. It's always happened. There's always been guys that get way too much credit and are blown up, and then there's guys that are undervalued, and that was one of the things. And Nick, I gotta say this. Now I know Robert, you said he didn't like some of the negativity, and I can get all that, and we are going to be mostly positive, but we're still going to have to call some stuff out when it needs to be called out. And Nick thought it was our best show. Nick loved it. Said the only non-BS Packer show in the world, or something like that. Pretty close.
Pretty close.
Anyway, Rick, Ben just talked about this stuff. I don't think we never asked you this. Who's your favorite? Who are some of your favorite Packers in your Packer history? Because I know you're a Raiders guy first and foremost, but you're still kind of a Packer guy. So tell us who are some of your favorite Packers.
Even though Gilbert Brown got all the attention back in those days on the defensive line, I kind of like Santana. He was kind of the underdog, the unsung hero. Gilbert would stand there and take up like 4 guys, and then Santana would be in the trenches, actually getting a little push up the middle, maybe actually tackling someone.
He's a very good player.
He was. Reggie was fun to watch, but it was easy. Like everybody loved Reggie, right? But the guy was dominant at times, playing the defensive end spot.
Is there? I'm gonna make a guess at the next one here. He may have referenced Hawaii a few times, Honolulu, some things like that.
What?
I'm just kidding.
You're talking about guys that the media latches onto and gets some hype. Well, Sean the Ghost Jones might have been, or Honolulu Jones, however you want to refer to him. He might have been one of those guys. Chimura, prior to some of his poor decision making, they're guys that are just kind of blue collar. They get things done. They're not drawing a ton of attention to themselves, not being flashy.
I feel like you might have been kind of an Ed West kind of guy too.
Well, I liked Ed more than Keith Jackson, but yeah,
What about O lineman, Rick? There's got to be some O lineman you liked in your Packer years.
He likes Earl the Pearl. Earl Dotson, that was your favorite guy, right?
Earl Dotson. Well, Frankie was up there. I think I like Frankie a little better than Earl.
You could have kept it simple and just went with all the Dotsons if you really wanted to. But I mean,
I could have.
Yeah, Santana and Earl.
Yeah, Big Earl. But big old bag of donuts. Frankie Winters was, Oh, how could I forget John Yurkovich?
There you go. Mom's favorite guy.
Was.
Yep.
He was awesome.
I don't know.
Jason might remember one of the Packer football camps that we went to in summer back in the high school days. They'd have, a couple of guys from each position there. For the most part, they're guys you never heard of. The offensive line, I think they had Tootie Robbins there as the offensive lineman. Tootie was a big dude. But actually, Weasel and I were in the Press Gazette. We had our picture, the picture of Tootie. Weasel and I were in the background with Tootie.
Wow, that's right.
But Yurko was there, and he's just like, the whatever assistant coach they had there, talking about the drills they were doing. They're supposed to be doing this, and there's some scrubby dude no one ever heard of, like actually doing these things. Yurko's just like leaning on top of the dummy watching. So he wasn't doing anything. He was just being a smart aleck in the background.
Cracking some jokes. Plus, he had the physique that made anyone feel like they could be a football player.
Exactly. I appreciated that, especially in my younger athletic days. So between
a lot different than Van Ness.
That's true. I don't know if I would have quite lived up to those physical standards, but I could hold up to Frank Winters and Yurko. So.
All right,
and Earl the Pearl.
Yeah.
All right, before we jump into the next part here, which is kind of talking about players we're expecting good things from this year, and guys maybe we gotta maybe expect not as much from. I have to clear up one thing. I just wanted to say I wanted to make myself bigger on the here, so you can see me. I wanted to make an apology to Andy Herman. Andy, I didn't mean to focus on you last show. That was my mistake. He was certainly not the only one saying those things. So my apologies that I focused so much on Andy Herman. Wasn't trying to do that. It was just that I had just seen his stuff and it triggered that in me to address it. And so it was my most recent reference, but there are plenty of other people that said the same stuff. and I still had to clear it all up, but it didn't need to be focused on Andy. It could have just been like, hey, there's a lot of people saying this, and that was my mistake and my bad, so I apologize for
I
that.
think for what it's worth, I think the impression from talking with you guys that for the most part, we're in agreement. He brings up a lot of stuff, and it's if there is somebody that you normally agree with and they say something you don't agree with, it's a little more like catches your attention and it's a little more noteworthy, comment worthy, whatever. But hey, the guy's not afraid to put his opinion out there, whether you agree with it or not. You got to admire that too, right? He says it, he admits when he's wrong. So, I'll go back, I'll keep watching the guy, even if I don't agree with everything he has to say. So much like you guys, you say what's on your mind. Sometimes you change your tune when things don't go quite as you expected, whatever. Not afraid to admit when you make a mistake or change your opinion on something.
Yeah, I just wish David Bakhtiari would do that. Anyway, sorry. I do have one quick. Well, let me just say this. God dang it. Okay. So I work. This came up at work this week now. I get some of these things. I'm connected with this whole like rural healthcare system in Wisconsin. Okay. And there's a presenter coming up at this thing. And I'm reading the description about this presenter and, is this a thing that I want to attend or go to? In the program description, this person says this, because they're all talking about like team building and finding the right people and all this sort of stuff. And in the program description, the person says pronouns matter. And they ask the question, do your employees refer to your organization as we or they? We shows a commitment that says I'm in, and an employee who is motivated and feels accountable. It's about engaging the heart of others to get the job done by understanding what makes them tick. So anyway, I just thought brought me back to David's choice, and it still bothers me. But anyway, I'm going to let it go now. But much like he should not have been called upon for a fourth down touchdown play that turned into an interception on the goal line.
Well, that was probably an Aaron Rodgers audible.
Since Ron Bakhtiari, I want to throw this out just in case it comes true.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, Packers should probably move on from him. Where's he going to go? Only logical choice is the Jets because,
everybody else is
the
there.
entire team. Whatever. You can have them. What's the problem? They've already got a tackle. They got a tackle who doesn't want to be there. Who needs offensive line help and has someone else who doesn't want to be where they are? The Raiders. They got a Devontae Adams who, is not going to be happy, as you guys talked about, a couple weeks ago.
We don't want him back.
No. 3-way trade.
Okay.
Now, we all know that the Raiders are, really good at making bad trades and losing terribly. And they come out on the short end of the stick most of the time. It's a 3-way trade. Bach goes to the Jets. They move their malcontent tackle Becton to the Raiders, where he'll suck. They'll pay him a whole bunch of money, and he'll suck for a year, and then they'll cut him. Arvante is back in action in New York. Packers end up with draft picks from somebody, probably Oakland, or Las Vegas, even though they don't have anymore. So
the Jets don't have any either.
They'll
got all the Jets.
They'll dump all the salary from Bach. Bach will get to play with his friends. Devontae will get to play with AR. Raiders will lose a bunch of draft capital and end up with a malcontent that costs them a bunch of money. It's the way of the world. It's just all will be right in the universe. So it's throw it out there now. So when it happens in August, no one's surprised.
There you go. We can bring them back to this show. All right. Well, I don't know what's going to happen with Bakhtiari. I still don't understand quite how it's going to work. But I mean, Ben, if they were going to get rid of him, they would have moved him by now, right?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
But I mean, are we talking about this now?
Yeah, let's go on. Let's go on this, then we'll go to the other stuff. What do you think?
The thing.
I mean, tell me.
They've been going back and forth with Yash and Zach Tom starting at right tackle over the last however many weeks now, since Bakhtiari's been actually sort of practicing. So with that being said, I think they are planning on not trading Bakhtiari. I think the only way Bakhtiari gets traded is if the Packers start off losing pretty badly. Like if they're, 1-7 or something by the trade deadline, then obviously they'll trade him to somebody who's good. The other thing I think that's more interesting to me is I I did not realize this, but Yash is 29 years old or 28 years old already. It doesn't seem like he is because he was an drafted player that they just picked up, and he's been sitting on the on the team for like 4 years, just sitting there. Well, when he picked him up, he was already 24, 25 years old. Bakhtiari is only a couple years older than Yash is. So is Yash the future at left tackle or right tackle, even if Bakhtiari is gone next year? I don't think he is. I don't think Yash is a player that you're going to sign back after this season, even, because I think his contract demands will be higher than what the Packers are willing to pay. And I think they've got a couple guys like Rasheed Walker and Luke Tenuta and some other guys in the pipeline that they're ready to move up. And I believe, to be quite honest, I think Yash is the guy who's going to get traded before the season starts. And Zach Tom will be the starter at right tackle because they've got so many guys in the pipeline that they believe in and they think that they can be good. I mean, it depends on how well they perform. But I would not be surprised if, because of Yash's age, the fact that this is his last year because they put that second round tender on him for the whatever that not franchise tag, whatever that tag is. But it's like the unrestricted franchise tag of a second round pick. Yeah, like it's restricted. Yeah. Right? So if somebody would sign him, they'd have to give the Packers a second round pick. So nobody did, obviously. But next year he's going to be wanting $15 million a year. I mean, if he's a starting right tackle, left tackle in the NFL, and I think he is probably good enough to be a starting right tackle, left tackle in the NFL. And I think the Packers, with Zach Tom and him fighting it out for right tackle, if Zach Tom looks better than him, and Rasheed Walker looks pretty good, there's your backup tackle right there, Rasheed Walker, who I thought looked pretty dang good last year in the preseason, that one game he played. Now, he didn't play that much, but he looked good. And they've got other guys in the pipeline. So and still you have Bakhtiari for one more year, and then we trade him next year or whatever, or we restructure him, or whatever happens to him. I don't know. But that way you have Bakhtiari on the team. I mean, if I had a choice between Bakhtiari and Yash for 1 year, I'd take Bakhtiari. I think he's better, especially at pass protection.
Well, that's what Wyatt points out too, and says I think they're going to give Love, an all-pro pass protector during his first year, and then trade Bakhtiari next season. He points out that the next tackle class coming, assuming people come out, is a very good tackle class coming out.
Right, but they also have Caleb Jones and Luke Tenuta and Rasheed Walker all sitting there, plus Zach Tom. I mean, they have so many tackles on the team that they believe in, and they're trying to build up into players that I think both Yash and Bakhtiari won't be a Packer next season.
No,
therefore, one of them should be traded. And based on their salary, Yash is an easier move because teams that already have high salary caps or don't have much room, and they want a younger player who's not injury prone. I think Yash is a better trade target. I think they can get a second round pick for him. Cool. For Bakhtiari, it's got to be the right fit, and it's got to be, something that's good at, like, somebody can fit underneath the cap and all that kind of crap. Yeah, so I don't know.
I think the reason Green Bay should trade Bakhtiari is the same reason they can't trade him. Right? I mean, it's not, we're not trying to bag on a popular player like we just talked about in the intro here, right? I don't think they need to trade him other than for the financial reasons, right? I mean, the guy is a huge, huge, huge financial hit. Hopefully he's back and sticks around the whole year. But how do you trade that salary, right? Who's going to take on that huge of a financial hit for a year or two?
But
whatever.
The thing is, his salary cap hit for this season, if he's traded, is only like $2 million or something. It's all in signing bonuses and pushed forward. So like he's like 17 million on the cap or whatever this year. And if they would trade him, it would bump up to like a little bit more than that. Something like that. But his actual base salary, because that's the other thing, if they would trade him, then all the money that's pushed over to the future years would hit the Packers salary cap a little bit this year, and then the rest of it would be all next year. Like, it'd be spread out between the 2 years because it's after June 1st. So that's why I said after June 1st, I thought he would be a good trade target. But his actual salary cap hit for another team, if they would trade for him, would be quite low. It's like under $3 million. So it's not like it's a big hit for that team. It's just, if you're a team that's looking, obviously the only team that would trade for him would be a team that's a contending team, I would assume. And I think that the Packers would not trade Bakhtiari to a dumpster fire because he's a veteran player who they want to, do good for, right? They want to treat him nice. So they're like, okay, we'll trade you to a team that has a chance to win. So it would have to be a team that has a chance to win. And the only team out there, or I don't know how many teams have a real need at left tackle, but also left tackle who's injury prone hasn't played that much in the last couple of years. So I don't think any of these teams are going to take a chance on that, like I said, until maybe the trade deadline where maybe one of their guys gets hurt. Maybe a surprise team shows up that's got 6-7 wins at the 8-game mark, and they're willing to take a shot at Bakhtiari or whatever. But I think when it comes to trading a player before the season starts, I think Yash is the actual target that other teams would have. And that doesn't necessarily have to be to a contender. That could be to a building team because they're looking for a player to build with, and they're willing to pay Yash the money. And I think the Packers are not willing to pay Yash the money because they're going to end up having to pay another guy, which I think we need to get into whenever you want to. I'd like to talk about. Are you ready for that?
Almost. Just wanted to wrap on this whole.
Yeah, bring it back to me when you're ready.
Yeah, I just want to wrap on the whole Bakhtiari thing and just say that I think my biggest question with David Bakhtiari, because Wyatt pointed out, and we've seen it. I mean, he's a great pass protector, but he is subpar as a run blocker. And what is this offense going to be focused on this year? So I don't know. I understand who he is. I understand his stature in the league. I understand his length of time with the team and all of it. But I don't know if he's the right left tackle for this team, for this offense that they want to run this year. And that's the thing I think the coaches have to answer and decide. And maybe that ultimately determines, who they keep and who they try to move. But I think we are correct that most likely one of those two is going to be, they're going to try to move here before the season starts.
Yeah, and Zach Tom, they're not going to trade him. They still have 3 years control over him.
And he's
Same
cheap.
thing, Rashid. Yeah, and he's cheap. Rasheed Walker, they got 3 years control of him, and he's cheap. Caleb Jones, he's only in his second year with the team, and they got him under super cheap, and they hold his rights, for years and years to come. Same thing with Luke Tenuta. So none of those guys are getting cut. All those guys are staying because they're cheap and they have the rights for years to come. And they all made the team last year. Caleb Jones made the team, wasn't he? He just never active, right? He made the actual roster, didn't he?
I can't remember if he was practice squad or if he was on the roster. But
anyways, there's a lot of guys in the pipeline.
It's true.
And I think it's odd that they didn't just let Yash go, to be quite honest. But I think it's also they were like, okay, well, is Bakhtiari going to be able to play? Blah, 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 blah. Zach Tom can play anywhere. What are we going to do with him? I don't know. It also depends on where, maybe Myers stinks. So they play Zach Tom at center. I freaking don't know. But all I know is there's a whole lot of tackles in the pipeline. That's why. But the reason why I think they're not going to keep Bakhtiari will be traded next year. So that's fine. Also, I think Yash will be gone because of this particular player that I want to talk about now, Rashawn Gary. Rashawn Gary is a player who they're going to have to shell out the dough to, even though he's coming off an injury, because everybody thinks he's an elite pass rusher. I don't know if he's an elite pass rusher. I've only saw half a season of him, pretty much.
Yeah,
sorta, and a little bit of a season before. But everybody talks about him like he's an elite pass rusher, which means he thinks he's going to have to be paid like an elite pass rusher.
Top guy at his position, probably, right? Packers MO.
Right. The other thing is, at his locker, a couple days ago, they had an interview. Here's the weird thing. He had two weird things that he said. One of them, they asked him when he was going to be back to play. He said, I'll be ready when I'm ready. I'll be ready when I'm ready. Then they said, well, how do you feel? And he's like, I feel great. And they're like, okay, well, you think you'll be ready by the start of the season? And he's like, I'll be ready when I'm ready. And then a little while later, they asked him something. And he's like, I'll be ready when I'm ready. Okay. Who else said I'll be ready when I'm ready a lot and never freaking played ever? Bakhtiari. After he got his contract. Here's a guy who's in his contract year. What would happen if he comes back early before he's ready and gets hurt again? How much money is that going to cost him? The other thing that was interesting, a reporter asked him, hey, this is your contract year. You're on your fifth year option right now. What are you prepared to come out? Like, you want to have a big year to make sure that everybody sees how great you are and you get paid high, whatever. And Gary's response was this. I mean, I'm paraphrasing because I don't exactly remember what it was exactly, but he said this. He's like, oh, I don't think about that. He's like, I didn't even know that was this. I didn't even know it was that way or something like that. He said he claims he didn't know it was his contract year. That is shocking, but it's also probably a lie. So my question is this. Number one, I have two questions, and I want you both to answer what you think, because I don't know. Because I've been thinking about it, and I know what my answers are, but I want your immediate reaction. Number one question. Do you think the Packers will shell out the dough to Gary, even if he doesn't play very much this year because he's injured and doesn't want to come back ahead of time and blah, 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 like they did to Bakhtiari? And question number two, do you think Rashan Gary would pull a Za'Darius and not play for most of the season because, number one, he doesn't want to get hurt in a contract year, even though he claims he doesn't know it was contract year. But he said, I'll be ready when I'm ready, even though he says he feels great. So which one is it? Do you think the Packers will pay him if he never plays? Number one. Number two, do you think he will actually play? Or will he milk the injury and say, oh, I'm not ready yet, I'm not ready yet, not ready yet. And then all of a sudden, here you go. It's end of the season. And guess what? He never played the whole year. And then the Packers have to make a decision on him. That scares me based on those two comments he said. So go ahead. I don't care which one you guys want to talk.
I'm gonna let Rick go on this, and then we're gonna look at Rashan Gary's what he's done as a Packer, and then see what you think.
All right. So first question: will the Packers pay him even if he doesn't play? I think yes, based on what they've done the last few years. Yes. Right? Because he's a fan favorite. He's a superstar. He's earned it, right? Even if the Packers are dumb in that regard, it's happening around the league, right? I mean, Dak got a bunch of money when he was hurt. So there's precedent for other teams doing this too. The Packers don't do it, then they don't take care of their guys, or you get hurt and they're not there, they don't have your back. Right? I think they've done it enough times that instead of finding some sort of like middle ground stepping stone, like, okay, we'll give you a chance to come back, prove yourself, or heavy incentive contract, they'll do it, right? They don't want to risk losing him. Will he come back and play? It might depend on, let's wait and see how the season's going, right? Why should I rush back and suck or get hurt if, we're 3-5? Wait and see. Oh, we're looking good. We might make the playoffs. All right, then I come back and gobble up in the playoffs like my buddy Z. So I think, that's my prediction. Kind of hope I'm wrong on the second one. I hope he comes back and, is excited to play with the defensive line they've got, lives up to his expectations and his hype. I don't think he's really shown. The first year we hardly saw him. He's made some splash plays, but hasn't been dominant, right? I mean, you look at some of these edge guys past 5 years, 10 years, whatever, they can just take over a game sideline to sideline even, right? I don't think we've seen that from him. Have we seen some explosive plays? Have we seen splashes? Sure, absolutely. Can you get that with other guys for a lot less money? I think so. Right? I mean, show us that you're an every down player that's going to dominate that end of the line. Sure, get your big contract. But I think it's exactly what you said, Ben. He's going to milk out the injury, ride those laurels like the Packers have done so many other times with other players, reward him with a contract on what has the potential to do, and then hopefully we get something back in return next year and beyond. Jace.
Oof. Okay, well, Wyatt says, I think if he doesn't play much, it's going to be a high-end contract with guaranteed money that's probably on the lower end, which I don't know, maybe, but I don't know. Here's what I think about Rashan Gary. Okay. There are a number of variables here, but let's just look at what he's actually done as a professional athlete. But here's kind of the confusing part. Now, the Packers had their highest pick that they had in a while, pick 12, and they drafted him on potential. High pick on potential. If they were to give him a massive contract, like top of the position contract or upper, top 5 of his position paid and all that, It's all, once again, not on actual production. It's on potential. Now, I will say I like Rashawn Gary. I think he's a good player. I like his effort. But he's limited in a number of ways because he's not a super speed guy from the outside. Right? He's a bigger guy. He has more power than some of the smaller outside guys. But he's not, he's got a bull rush and he can rip, but he's never going to like fly around somebody and make somebody miss and get there quick. He gets in on plays because he hustles, but he's not a speed pursuit guy who's going to like chase down a bunch of plays for you like Clay Matthews used to do and make like wild plays out of nowhere that, he makes people fumble because they didn't think he was going to get there and stuff like that. He's never a guy that's going to scoop up a fumble and run it back for a touchdown unless there's absolutely nobody in front of him. But let's just also take a look at this. I pulled up his thing on Pro Football Reference here. Let's just kind of sneak a peek at what his stats actually show. This is Rashawn Gary, okay? He's played a total of 56 games. He's got 22 and a half sacks, 80 tackles, 80 solo tackles in 56 games. We'll just look at the numbers a little bit more closely here. In 19, he only had 2 sacks and 22 tackles. He played very limited. 2020, he had 5 sacks, 35 tackles. 2021, where he started 16 games, he had 9.5 sacks, 47 tackles. Now that's pretty good. He had 8 tackles for a loss that season, 28 quarterback hits. Like, those are all good numbers for an outside guy, but they're not like top of the league numbers. I mean, Nick Bosa had 20 sacks, right? I mean, like, he's not a top 5 edge guy based on what he's done. And that was a full season without injury. He started almost every single game. And last year he played the 9 games. He had 6 sacks in 9 games. People got all whipped up about that. That's great. 32 tackles, but then he got injured. So what is he going to look like coming off the injury? But that's only one like high production season in 9 games. So anyway, let's just look at his defensive snaps as well. Okay. So he had, I'm just kind of moving down here.
Hey, to interrupt you, but because you got another thing open up on your computer, your mic's all scratchy and wacky. So just show what you want to show real quick, and then get rid of that because your mic's all wacky and stupid.
All right.
You can show us the stats, but
these kids are killing my my internet or something. Anyway, too many.
Now you sound a lot better now. But yeah, your mic is all crackly and crap.
My apologies. Okay, but the point of the whole matter is,
it was good to see the stats. It's good to see the stats of what we're looking at.
The point of the whole matter is he hasn't done that much as a pro. I mean, and the percentage of defensive snaps, here they are in the seasons. First season, 24% of the defensive snaps. He played 244 defensive snaps. Second season, he played 456 defensive snaps, only 48% of the defensive snaps. 2021, he played 68% of the defensive snaps. And last year, in the 9 games he was in, he played 70% of the defensive snaps. But he's only played 1,759 snaps in his 4 years with the Packers. Okay, so the production is not great. The production is not worth a top of the league contract. It's simply not. So the variable here to me, and maybe this was the thought process in the draft, is what is Lucas Van Ness going to do? Does Lucas Van Ness make Rashawn Gary expendable? If he comes in and like he's a big effort guy, that's all we've heard about him too. High effort guy. He's about the same size, but he's a little more versatile because he's got a little bit more leverage inside. He's used to pass rushing from the inside a little bit more. Does he make the Packers say, well, we'll offer Rashawn Gary because we think he's a good player. We'll offer him a fair contract, a good contract, but we're not going to pay him top of the. They're going to finally buck their trend, and they're not going to pay him like he's the best in the NFL at his position. And he'll either have to decide whether that's acceptable to him or not. And if he takes a reasonable contract and comes back, I'm happy with it. If they pay him top 5 in the league contract, I'm not happy with it based on that. Absolutely not. I don't. And again, all that being said, I think he's a very good player. I like him. I like his effort, but he is not top 5 at his position.
See, and I was thinking of comparables for him, like from what the Packers have done in the past. So, but it's hard because with that injury last year, that really hurt. Like, I think the closest comparison would be Elgton Jenkins. However, Elgton Jenkins already proved in his first 2 seasons when he was a rookie and a sophomore in the league that he could play, and he got better with every year. And he got a top 5 guard contract. Actually, might have been the number 1 guard. I don't remember, but it was pretty good contract. But I don't think it was like top of the line, like number 1, but it was like top 5. And the other guy I was thinking of was Aaron Jones, who didn't get an opportunity his first 2 years because Mike McCarthy was stupid. And then all of a sudden, 2019, Matt LaFleur gave him the freaking reins and he killed it. And then 2020, he killed it. So then they paid him and kept him. And that's not at a premium position. And guard is not a premium position either. And then if you look at what the Packers have done at premium positions with their draft picks, like Jair Alexander and Kenny Clark, defensive line. Well, I don't know if he's even premier position, but those guys, they shell out the cash to. Devontae Adams, shell out the cash to. Quarterback, shell out the cash to. Now, Devontae actually didn't get top of the dollar when he signed his second contract. So I think what's interesting is this. There are comparables in what the Packers have done in the past, but it's also what is the player looking to do? And what is that going to be? Because the other options, because there's a lot of guys, when you think about it, that they're going to have to make decisions on next season. So if you sign back with Rashawn Gary at a high top price contract, you know how many other guys you can sign back that are good players that are maybe in trouble, that are maybe might be gone? You could sign back AJ Dillon. You could sign back DeGuara. You could extend Jordan Love even further if he all of a sudden plays great this year. There's probably, what happens at maybe Savage comes out and plays great for once. You could pay a safety, a running back, and a tight end and still have leftover money for the amount of money you'd have to pay Rashawn Gary to keep him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that I don't know if the Packers are willing to do. Because the other thing that bothers me about the NFL, and it's not even the Packers at all, it's the whole NFL. When you have, like look at the Rams. They had all their money into, 4 guys, right? And if Aaron Donald gets hurt, if Matt Stafford got hurt, if Cooper Kupp gets hurt, Jalen Ramsey gets hurt, they stink. Because they got all their money into, the top guys, and then the rest are all scrubs. Or not scrubs, but, we don't know what they are. They're not getting paid anything because they gave those guys so much money they couldn't afford to get a good, solid type guy like Josiah DeGuara or whoever, or Elgton Jenkins or whatever. The other thing, Runyon Bunyan. You could sign back Runyon Bunyan, A.J. Dillon, Josiah DeGuara, and maybe it's Keyshawn Nixon. Okay, maybe you can't sign back Keyshawn Nixon for all that, but you could get probably 3 out of those 4 guys for the same price you're paying Rashawn Gary for one guy. What happens if he gets hurt again?
Mm-hmm.
Here you're paying 3 guys who are all a starting guard, who I think is a top, he's probably a top 30 guard in the NFL, which is nothing to sneeze at. Because there's 32 starters at one spot. So there's 64 guys, and I think he's a top 30, which means he's in the upper echelon, upper half of starting guards in the NFL. I believe that about John Runyon. A.J. Dillon has been a top 10 running back per PFF the last 2 seasons. He was ranked number 3 2 years ago and number 10 last year. In his down year, everybody keeps saying he had a down year last year, except he was ranked number 10 in PFF. And then we all know Keyshawn Nixon is a game changer at return man, and he's a pretty damn good nickel defender. So as a Packer fan, not as an NFL fan, as a Packer fan, and you want your team to win games, answer me this, you 2 guys. Would you rather have Josiah DeGuara, A.J. Dillon, John Runyon, Keyshawn Nixon, or Rashawn Gary? Because Rashawn Gary is going to ask for $100-some million for a 4-year deal. So what would you rather have? One guy who's you don't even know if he's good, or 4 guys who are solid, good players? It's interesting.
Rick, you go on this, but you got to unmute, my friend. Then you go.
My dog was making noise before. With them being a young team and having a lot, I mean, they have to decide where they're going in the future, right? They got a lot of guys, a lot of holes that are going to need to be filled long term. And as I said, I don't think he's shown enough to warrant getting the big money contract. And hopefully, even though it really wouldn't surprise me to see the Packers do it based on what they've done in past years, JJ in the chat had said, with the amount of edge rushers they brought in this offseason, they might be planning on moving on, or maybe those guys are just in case, right? Maybe the bigger question is, what does Enigbare do? I mean, even a guy like Garvin, if he's still on the roster, like throw him in. I'm just saying, they got these guys that, if you want a guy to rush, fine. Just make that a 3-4 man rotation over there, situational, right? But yeah, I mean, I think with the flashes that Enigbare showed last year, if he plays well the first half of the season, maybe that seals the deal, right? If Gary's poking around, coming back, not showing anything, and Enigbare's making some plays, maybe that makes a decision for them. They got a guy who's a legitimate bookend to go opposite of NS. All right, offer Rashaan a fair contract. If it's not good enough, let him walk. I think that'd be the smart thing to do. I don't know if that's what they're going to do, but I think that'd be the smart play.
Right. That is the thing. And I'll just finish on this. I think this season will tell us a lot about Rashaan Gary. Because to this point, he's been the model guy who came in as a high pick but didn't squawk or push or press for playing time when they had just signed those 2 big price free agents, and he knew he wasn't going to get that much playing time. He worked hard. He did all the right stuff, and I appreciate all that about him. I think he's a good dude. But now we're going to find out. And because I think we are, and somebody pointed out, this generation of NFL players, it's like, it's different. Like, these guys aren't always pushing to play. They want to wait, take it really cautious with their bodies. And I don't know if that's more on the trainer side, the Packer side, the player side, but it seems like the players are very much like that too, where they want to make sure they're fully healed 100% before they're even going to step back on the field and put themselves out there again.
It could be the agent side, right?
It could be. Yeah.
I'll just bring up Baker Mayfield.
Baker
Mayfield played through the injury, and his play suffered, and he looked bad, and the team went and courted Deshaun Watson, Wiener Boy. And next thing you knew, Baker Mayfield had no home. He had nowhere to go. He went to the Panthers. He went to the Rams. Now he's stuck on Tampa Bay. A guy that a team won 1 game in 2 years. He came in and got him to the playoffs, and they crapped on him because he played through an injury. And these guys see that. That's why, what's his face? Murray from the Cardinals, he doesn't want to play. He's like, I'm not going out there and playing when I got an injury. No way. This team, this team could freaking think I stink or whatever. Like, no. And that's why that's what these young guys see. And that's why they're never going to, they don't want to play if they're not 100%. Because if they look bad on tape, NFL is going to use it against them in contract negotiation.
Yeah, it's the guys that already have it made that aren't going to risk it. It's guys that are still hungry. Like, was it Purdy, the quarterback for San Francisco at the end of the year, going in with, was it a ligament detached from the bone or whatever he was doing? Like, he could barely move his arm, and he's still going out there, right? I mean, that someone who's hungry. It was a stupid decision for him to go back out, but I don't think it's fair to lump all those guys together. I think there's a big difference between the guys that have the reputations, the hype, the big contract already. They don't want to risk what they have, compared to the guys that, hey, this is their shot, right? It's like that Eminem song, right? This is your moment. You got to own it, whatever.
Whoa.
Break into a rap now. That'd be pretty good.
Nice. That would be classic.
Yeah.
I just do think, I think we're going to find out a lot about Rashaan Gary this season. And I think, like Rick pointed out, if Enigbare looks good, if NS is going in there and looking good, if he putzes around too much and doesn't come back, he might make the Packers. Yep. He might make the Packers decision for him. And so I think in that regard, there is pressure on him to come back and to have a big season. I think the only way he should get a big contract is if he comes back, basically plays this whole season, and plays like a dominant player. If he does that, then I would be okay with them offering him a top 5 contract, even though the previous years were just more potential based. But if he doesn't play a full season, or it isn't a dominant player in at least the majority of a full season, then you can't do it. You just absolutely can. It's fiscally irresponsible, and it's irresponsible to the entire success of the organization, because like Ben said, you could literally sign 3 or 4 players for that amount of money. So that's it on him.
I think that's a different situation than even where the Packers were with Bach, right? I mean, they've already given him his money, but there's a guy that I thought they overpaid him even when they gave him the contract. But the point is, he had earned a big contract by that point, right? I can understand sticking with him to that point, right? Whereas Gary is unproven. Like you say, it's the potential, and Green Bay thrives on that, right? That's their thing. Draft these guys with potential, draft, develop, right? But the development's not there yet. We're not seeing the development reaching the full potential. So I think it's different than some of the other guys they have thrown big money contracts to. Question is, how much do they buy into the hype? Because I think you'd probably agree there's certainly been times where they throw money at someone and you really wonder what they're looking at compared to what other people are seeing when you actually watch the game and see what happens on the field. So
they trust their evaluations on guys a little bit too much. Like, they go back to their original evaluation on this guy coming out of college. What did we think? And I think they put too much credence in that based on what has the guy done in the last couple of years as a professional. Yeah. Not what you think he could still become. Because by this point, by 4 or 5 years in, he needs to be what you thought he was going to be.
There's no correction or depreciation in this potential, right? You keep looking at the potential they had, but each year that potential's not happening. There needs to be some correction in that formula you're using. Mm-hmm. But then again, they've got guys like Yash that I'm pretty sure we had talked about it probably on the show, where looking at their roster and guys that they've got on the offensive line, it's like, okay, who are these guys? Why are they just sitting on the team, taking up roster spots, and you never see them? Why hang on to these guys? And then finally, Yash gets a chance to play. Actually, it looked pretty decent, had me eating some words there, but like, really, how long do they sit on some of these guys hoping they turn into something? It's the same problem.
But, yeah. Sorry, I lost my internet there.
Okay, well, you're back. Good, because now we got to move on from Rashan Gary. He is a guy that, okay, quick on this. Do you expect Rashan Gary to have a big season? Are we having high expectations for him this season?
I was, until I heard his comments.
Oh.
And I've been thinking about it more and more the last couple of days. I think he's not going to play. I think he's going to... I don't know.
Safe?
There's a couple different... Here's the reasons why. Since he's been a Packer, he started his Bane Gary thing, right? Which is a personal thing where he's trying to promote his brand. He's a guy who wants to promote his brand.
Yep.
And yes, it's green and yellow, but it's not called Packer Gary. It's called Bane Gary or whatever he is, because he likes Bane from Batman or whatever. And that's all. I don't know. I don't trust. Like, if you ask me if A.J. Dillon's going to come in and play hard, yes. A.J. Dillon wants to be a Packer. He's come out and said, I want to be a Packer. I want to live here. I'm married. I have a kid. My wife's from here. I love Green Bay. I'm mayor of Door County. There's no way I want to get out of here. So because of that, I have big expectations for A.J. Dillon. Maybe not in, get more carries or anything, but I think when he's on the field, I think he's going to do everything he can to be awesome and not like overthink it like he did last year. But Gary, I don't know. I based on his comments, I think he's going to be smart about it as a player in the NFL who's coming off an injury and wants to get paid. Yeah. And if he comes back and looks bad, that hurts him. If he doesn't come back, and he also hasn't shown. The other thing is, it's proven Goody doesn't like to let go of his first round picks. It kills him.
I mean, he signed.
So you're telling me he's going to let Savage and Gary both walk?
Right? Well,
I don't know.
what would
I
be the
guess
smart
Nick
thing for
Perry
Gary?
wasn't his pick, but Nick Perry was like one of the worst, right? I mean, oof.
But
He did
what
sign
would be
back.
the smart thing for Gary to do, right? Sit
Yeah,
there,
right. Smart.
see what's going on. If NS is everything he's cracked up to be, makes it easy. Enigbari's looking awesome from the other side. I hate to compare him to Z, but right,
Yeah,
like if he's seeing
that's what I
Enigbari
said.
having a bunch of success, he's feeling good. It's like, okay, well maybe I can come in and rack up a bunch of sacks, pressures, whatever, and help my cause. Maybe he comes back, right? I mean, that would be the smart play if you're in his position, right? Sit back, see where things are going. What's the best course of action? So
I think that's what he's going to do. So, and here's the other thing, though. I don't think Packer fans should hate on him for it. I mean, these guys have a window to make money, and he is at a premium position with a first round pick, who we haven't seen signs that he's bad. We just haven't seen many signs of him being good either. Like we've seen him when he's out there, he plays pretty good. He hustles. I love his work ethic, like Jason said earlier. He's a player I get behind when he's on the field. It's just as an individual, if it was me, I would take it the same way. I'd be like, listen, I'm not going out there until I'm ready to play. Whenever that is, I'll be out there and I'll do my best and I'll freaking dominate so I get paid. But until I know I'm 100% and the doctors say I'm 100% and I feel like I'm 100% and I feel like I will not have any type of, like what I would like to see. This is what I would like to see from Gary. I would like to see him when he does come back. They just have him out there in pass rush situations. So he doesn't have to worry about taking on double teams and getting smacked on run plays and getting like blindsided and all that kind of stuff. Where the offensive line is always in backtrack mode. So he's in attack mode on every play. So only have him out there in pass rush situations at first and let him get used to playing before they start bringing him in there as an every down player. That I would be happy with, and I think that would be positive to me.
It's good for both, right? It's biggest impact for him on the defense as a whole. Best way for him to, make his splash, get attention, help his cause for getting a contract. I think it's a smart way to proceed. So.
Well, why it says, like you're talking about with Baker, teams are for the most part not loyal, so you got to go get the money while you can. Well, you can't fault people for that. I totally get it, but I do. I've been a fan of Gary's since he won, and he won us over, Ben. Like we were pretty hard on him. We hated the pick.
We were hard on him. Yep.
It was like ridiculous early on. The fact he never play. You want a top 12 pick, and he's not even going to see the field. Like 25%.
That you can blame on Goody,
right? But he won us over with his work ethic, his effort, his hustle, the way he's a good player, and I think he's a good player. I just don't think he's dynamic enough to be paid like he's probably going to want to be paid.
He's not Nick Bosa or TJ Watt or come on, you can't keep or even what's his face with the Raiders? What's that guy? White guy.
Oh, Max.
Yeah, Max Crosby. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Those are guys that can take over a game. They can own that half of the field. Right? And we haven't seen that from him. I don't think that explosiveness is there.
Or Myles Garrett, or any of these guys. I know I named a bunch of white guys, compare him to white guys, but I mean, I don't care white guy, black guy. I'm just saying, he's not one of those guys who goes out there and makes the play. No, he's not a Clowney either, Jadeveon Clowney, who doesn't get the stats and doesn't hold up against the run, but kind of makes flashes and stuff. Or he's not like a Yannick Ngakoue or whatever his name is, who got some sacks but can't play the run. Right? He's better than that. So he's better than those two guys, and those guys, and like Ngakoue's not on the team right now because nobody wants to pay a guy to just rush the passer on third down, and he wants more money than what he thinks he deserves, and so it's interesting. I think the best thing, like I said, is if they bring him back slow whenever he's ready to go. Hopefully it'll be soon. Like maybe work out a deal with him, and not a deal, but like talk about, hey man, we want you to play, we want to use you to your best ability. We'll just send you in there on passing downs, and let you go crazy, right? And let you get used to being out there, and also knowing that you're not going to have to worry about holding up against the run and getting hit on by 300-some pound guys aggressively. And I think that'll help him get started. Let him play a couple games like that. Maybe it's week 4, week 5, or whatever. Maybe he's on the PUP list for the first 6 weeks. Comes back week 7 or whatever. I don't know how it works. And then he comes out and plays great. That's awesome. And if he comes out and plays great, fine. Then pay him some money. But I hope to God what they don't do is he doesn't play, or he doesn't play till the end, He doesn't really prove much of anything. And then because it's Goody and it's a first round pick, and he became, I can't let him walk. We wasted a first round pick on him. We didn't see anything from him the first 2 years. He played his third year, and then he got hurt his fourth year. We can't let him walk. We gotta get something out of this pick. He's a stud. Let's give him a crap ton of money.
Yeah.
That would be a waste. But I could see him doing it because they're dumb.
Yeah. David points out, he says, in my opinion, when a player blows his ACL, you lose 2 years of production from that player. Well, that's the way it goes for especially guys at Bakhtiari's age. Hopefully, since Gary's a little younger, it can be a little quicker process. But I think I may have said this before. Like I sat in on one of the orthopedic surgeons at our hospital, his presentation on this, and he talked about what the ACL tear is and how they repair it. And, it really is like a 12-month process for that to get back to where it should be. And then you think of all the lost strength and time and everything else that goes along with that time period of not being able to train the way you normally would. So that's why for athletes, especially for football players and stuff, it's even extended beyond normally that 12 months where guys might be back on the field because things are intact, but they haven't been able to rebuild and recover and retrain everything back to the level it was before. So
he talked about when he could finally walk, he took 3 steps and that was all he could take, and he was crying. He got tears in his eyes, and his mom was with him, and him and his mom got tears in their eyes. He understands what he could lose by coming back too early and getting injured again. Yeah, and he will not do it based on his comments. And I don't blame him. And I don't think we should be mad at him for it.
Sure.
However, I hope the Packers don't shell out the cash to a guy who's not ready to do it. Could there be like
a bridge situation like they did with Love?
Maybe that was a great move by Love. That was an awesome move. They kind of evened it out. Maybe they do. Maybe they can't come up to agreement and they do franchise tag to him.
Yeah, but he gives you a year to see what he can do.
Yeah, and you still don't have to pay Watson and all these other guys yet. You got a little bit of room. Next year, we're not going to have a $60 million freaking dead cap hit like this year with all these guys gone. Aaron Rodgers and all the the New York Rodgers. People call them the New York Packers. I'm like, no. Those are all Rodgers guys. Those are the New York Rodgers. Except for maybe Adrian Amos. He was not a Rodgers guy, but apparently he was. I think just nobody wanted to give him a deal, so he took the $4 million for 1 year and went to the Jets. I want to bring one more thing. We haven't talked about him a long time. What's the
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Let's talk about Quay Walker.
You already said you think AJ Dillon's going to have a good year. I do. I believe that too. You want to talk about Quay Walker now, or Rick's got it?
I just wanted to say too with AJ. I think you're right on, Ben. I think you want to talk about guys that are going to have a breakout year. I think he's got something to prove, right? I mean, he had a lot of people getting on him last year. A lot of it probably not really deserved. Talking about him being soft, not being effective. A lot of it was play calling, whatever. I think now's the chance to see what he can really do.
Play changing.
Whether that's for his future in Green Bay or he's playing for his future, whether that is Green Bay or somewhere else. I think you're right. I think it's we're going to see.
I would love to see him more in traditional, one back set or something with the quarterback under center, and he's getting the ahead of steam before he gets the ball instead of this crap with Rodgers where he's, in the shotgun. And, I want to see way more play action with Jordan Love under center. I don't know if it's going to happen, but that can really help AJ Dillon. And I think it can help the passing game. It'll help Jordan Love too.
Even that, whatever the stupid pistol set or whatever they call it, where the guy's only 4 or 5 yards back instead of all the way back, right? It's enough that you got the back behind the quarterback. Which, it's not quite the same full head of steam as under center, but at least it would put him in a position that he's moving forward when he has the ball. So.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they play, what formations they're in, what the play calls are like, all that stuff. And if they use the guys better to the situation, if they call specific plays for specific players finally after all this year. I mean, they did that last year with Christian Watson. How many end arounds did he get? Cool plays just for him so he could, go crazy, and it worked. Well, there's more of the guys than just Christian Watson who can make plays on this team, and Aaron Jones is one of them. AJ Dillon is another one. Use them right. Mm-hmm. When you're in the red zone, frickin' just get them lined up behind the center and frickin' plow his ass over 2 or 3 guys to get 3 yards and get in the damn end zone. We were the worst red zone team in the league last year because we ran out of goddamn shotgun all the time.
Well, and a bunch of times they just didn't run. They just didn't hand the ball off.
Yeah, well,
we're stupid RPOs.
Because who they had at quarterback, he wanted the touchdown passes. So, look. A lot of people talked about that in terms of, oh my gosh, what are we going to do without Aaron Rodgers, blah, blah. Well, this is one of the things you're going to do. You're going to actually run the play and hand the ball off. Like, I'm excited. As a Packer fan, I'm really excited to see that this year. I'm really excited to see those running backs get opportunities to be productive inside the red zone, inside the 10, and score touchdowns. Because I don't think Jordan Love's ain't going to give a crap. He's just going to run the play and hand it off.
Not only that, you know, did you hear Jordan Love's interview this week?
I didn't.
Somebody asked him about Luke Musgrave. And, you know, you could be looking for him and blah, blah, blah. He's a big, fast guy down the middle and all this kind of stuff. And Jordan Love's answer, I believe it was to this question, but I know he had an answer to a question. And it was basically this. He said, yeah, I'm impressed with him. He's fast. He's way faster than you thought. I mean, just seen him in person. He's fast. But then he said this. He said, I think the best thing about this offense, we have a lot of young, talented guys, and any one of them could be the guy I target on any particular play. And nobody is going to know who I'm going to. I mean, he didn't say exactly like that, but he said that. He's like, I don't have he's like, I'm not going to predetermine who I'm throwing the ball to. I'm throwing to the open guy. So the defense better look out because I could throw to anybody out there. It could be Christian Watson. It could be Romeo. It could be Musgrave. It could be A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones, Guara. You know, he didn't say all those names, but he was like, that's pretty much what he said was. That's one thing I think he said he's excited about this year is the defenses aren't going to know where to look. Where in the past, he didn't add this part, but I'm at it. In the past, they all knew Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones. That's about it. And he was saying, you can go ahead, cover Christian Watson double team. I might not even look at him. I might go to somebody else. And that is encouraging to me that Jordan Love said that. And he, because now he put that out there. That's awesome. So now defenses are be like, wait, what? You mean you might actually read the defense? I can remember when Brett Favre, as much as Brett Favre drove me nuts, he didn't get, like you said, Jace, he didn't care what the crap your name was. As long as you were wearing green, he threw you the damn ball. Right? There were times where he had 10 different targets or 10 different guys, 10 different catches in the game. 10 different guys had catches in the game. And that used to happen with Aaron Rodgers.
It did used to happen with Aaron Rodgers.
But the last 5-6 years,
guys,
yeah, not as much anymore. Or maybe like he'd throw one ball to a guy, but
yeah,
Favre didn't give a crap. He's like, you're wearing green, boom. I'm just sometimes he didn't know who the hell the guy was because he didn't know what the play was. He just saw green and threw it. Right? That's Favre. Okay, so I'm excited about that. Now, I got another topic for you guys. I don't know how long you want to go, but
Quay Walker here. Well,
Quay Walker.
I have one quick thing.
Oh my gosh, Quay Walker.
Eric's wife is here. She has to sleep in the room behind me. She does want to go to bed by 11.
Just for our listeners' benefits, I know she thinks Jason's quite a handsome man, but she is in fact Jason's wife's cousin. So it's not that she ditched me to go hang out with Haveman brother number 2. At least that's not the only reason.
That's true. That is kind of weird.
I didn't really explain that. She also gave us one more talking point before we leave the show tonight. But anyway, Ben, go to Quay Walker. What do you got?
Don't forget to give me my toilet trophy.
Naked Rick.
It's coming. It's coming.
Oh, the Naked Rick
you don't get the toilet trophy. You got the actual guy sitting on the.
Yeah, you get the legit.
You get the actual legit one.
Well, anyway,
the
toilet. You have to suck to get the toilet trophy. That's why me and Jason got it the last 2 years.
Yep.
Anyway, so I've been listening to Wildy and Tausch lately.
Oh man!
And
Does it bother you that their voices are both so high, or is it?
And they sounded like the same guy sometimes.
That's what I told you.
It's very odd. I was like, wow, it's almost like listening to the You and Me. Like if you know, you could tell the difference. But there's sometimes I'm like, wait a minute, is that Wildy or is that Tausch talking? Usually one of them's more smart alecky, and I know that's freaking Wildy, and then the other one's more like crazy, and that's Tausch. So I'm like, okay, I get it now. But whatever. Sometimes I don't know because I'm just listening to it. Anyways, I think I figured out why Andy Herman said that Quay Walker is overrated. Oh my gosh. Mark Tauscher apparently thinks that in a year, in 2024, by 2024, Quay Walker is going to be a Pro Bowl, All-Pro type middle linebacker.
I agree.
You agree with them?
I do. I agree.
Okay. Now, listen, I think he has the potential to be pretty good. I don't know about all pro. He was talking he said he's going to be a top 5 Packer player, which means more than
of all time
next year, which, and
Are
I
we
could
going
say maybe
all time?
Aaron Jones, maybe no, not all time in 2024.
Okay.
So maybe AJ, Aaron Jones might not be here. AJ Dillon might not be here. That's fine. But you're still talking Christian Watson. You're still talking maybe Rashawn Gary, Jair Alexander,
Yeah.
Elton
Cool.
Jenkins. You're
All
telling me
right,
that
all
Quay
those,
Walker?
all those guys, I think Quay Walker's going to be better than two. I agree.
Wow. Anyways,
I agree.
so Tauscher is really high on Quay Walker, like really, really high, and maybe there are a lot of people talking about what I don't know. What do the fans in a chat say?
We got to start it here. We'll also pump him up here and hype his train.
Well, I
We'll
don't
get it
think he's going to
started.
be. I mean, I think he's okay. I'll say one more thing real quick. Andy Herman did say
Yep.
when the team went to the 5-1-5 defense, which is 5 defensive linemen, 1 linebacker, 5 defensive backs, they bring in Wyatt and they take out Campbell.
Mm-hmm. Smart.
So your D line then is Wyatt, Kenny Clark, TJ Slayton. Your outside defensive linemen were Justin Hollins and Preston Smith at this time of the season, anyways. Maybe in the season starts, it'll be Luke Van Ness and Preston Smith. I don't know. I think Justin Hollins is pretty good, though.
I like Justin Hollins, yeah.
And then your secondary was Rudy Ford and Savage, and then, Jair, Douglas, Nixon. And then Quay Walker stayed on the field at middle linebacker calling the plays.
But
I like that.
if you got that,
I do like that, too.
whatever typical dime situation, yeah, I mean, I think he should be the guy just with his speed and range.
Yeah, right.
Right? I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be top 5 Packer, top all-pro, whatever guy. He's fast and he should be able to make plays. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer to me, especially with the way that Campbell was playing last year.
Yeah, Campbell was not nearly.
Campbell is another one of those
was-
overpaid hype guy.
Yep,
Overhyped.
And
he definitely is. He's a nice
you guys will-
player, but not.
I was on board with Campbell at, the end of the first year.
Yep.
I thought he
I
deserved a
wasn't.
contract.
I
Last
did.
year, he was proving
he
me
did.
wrong.
He did deserve a contract, but not.
Yeah, but not as high as he got.
the
No.
contract he got.
I thought they
It's-
overpaid him.
Yeah, it's another one of those situations where they could have been like, "Hey, you're a good vet. You had a really
He should have got a Rasul Douglas contract.
You had a very good season. Let's give you like a 2-3 year,
Not a 5-year deal.
yeah, like 2-3 year good, nice contract. Not top of the league, but pretty good. And that's where he should land.
Yeah.
Here's some other things. JJ says he likes a 5 D-man front. Everybody likes it. William G is a little worried that Quay Walker will keep getting dumb penalties.
Yeah.
That's something he's got.
Well, everybody knows about it, so they're going to be pushing him, egging him on.
Guys are going to push his buttons. He's got to show a control, show a maturity. I mean, it has to be something that he's worked on. It has to be something the team has also addressed, right? Like they must, in a situation like that, if you feel that the player still doesn't have a handle on it, you as the team need to bring in someone, a counselor or whatever, somebody to work with that player on that specific issue, right? And give him tools, prep him, do some different things so he's ready for those situations so he doesn't react the same way. Wyatt thinks if he can improve his ability to get off blocks, which he did get stuck on blocks at times last year. No, like if he basically what happened with Quay Walker most often was if he read the play and just flew to it, he was too fast for people to block him.
Yep.
But if big guys could block him, then he was a little too small to get off those blocks. So that's kind of how his season went last year. He's look with his speed and the way he's made, he's never going to be like the big guy that just sheds a block and like throws the blocker out of the way and goes and makes the play. He has to rely on his speed and his instincts to beat the block most of the time to be like the really impactful player. But I like his speed. I like his versatility. They had him outside sometimes. I think he's a pretty good pass rusher. He can work on getting better at that too. So you know what? Now the Tausch, I gotta agree. The guys you mentioned. I'm sorry. I think this season he's already probably gonna be better than most of those guys. Well, definitely Jair. I think he's more impactful than Jair. And I think
Dude, you got to stop ripping on Jair. Robert's not going to listen to our show anymore.
I'm just saying Jair.
I think you're starting to
Jair's a good
sound like
player.
your buddy Goody. You're starting to sound like Goody. He showed some flashes, so now he's great.
How about 120 some tackles? That's not some flashes. That's a good season.
Listen, I think he is going to be good.
I guess. Good.
Like our highlights, our show is called "Which Packers Should We Expect a Big Season From?" Quay Walker is my number one on defense to expect to have a big season from.
I like that.
My number one. Especially if he's the guy who's coming in and Campbell's coming out when it's single defensive or single linebacker sets. I'm okay with all of that. I like his play. I like his approach. I think he is going to be something good. I don't think he's going to be a Pro Bowler.
Not yet.
But I think he will have a big season for the Packers, which is more than you could say at linebacker since I can't even remember.
It ain't that hard to
So-
make the Pro Bowl, is it? Come on. A bunch of guys
Well,
turn
are
it
you
down.
actually making the Pro Bowl, or are you like the fifth alternate that
Oh,
goes
okay.
because no one else does?
Yeah, that's true.
Well, whatever. Look,
But-
JJ
I-
says with Quay's speed, a 5-man front makes opposing QBs nervous. Now, listen, just think about the 5-man front. What does the 5-man front do? What does it do?
Contains
Green
the
Bay.
pocket.
With
It
Green
it
Bay,
requires every one of the offensive linemen basically to block somebody right in front of them, which keeps that one linebacker generally clean, unless they have like a tight end that's going to block maybe one of the outside guys. But it doesn't give you, if you have a 3-man front, it gives you too many openings where those guards can like scrape off and try to get in the linebacker quick or just go right to the linebacker. So what if are the Packers going to be smart enough to say, let's see what we've got here. We like some of these defensive line players. We've added more with Van Ness and others, and we want to keep Quay Walker clean so he can just read and fly to the ball. Like, could we potentially see more of that? Could we potentially see kind of these adjustments? Is Joe Barry going to have an epiphany and all of a sudden be like Bill Belichick and run a 6-1 whatever defense or whatever the hell it is? I don't care what it is. But, like, do some stuff where you just keep the playmaker guy clean and chew up blockers with the big guys in front, and you stop everybody. It would be amazing. I would love to see it. I think
Well, the other thing that it does too is you can drop guys back in coverage from that defensive line. Do some BJ Raji, and that freezes that offensive lineman because the guy's in front of him. He thinks he's gonna have to block him, and then takes one step forward and then 2 steps
Maybe-
back. He does some Paula Abdul, right? Paula Abdul
maybe
and
Kenny
Cat.
Clark could be good at that. Kenny.
No.
Oh, no. But Devontae Wyatt could be good at
Devontae
it.
Wyatt would be very good at that.
Yes,
Van Ness could do it.
that's maybe.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say with Green Bay, though. They call them defensive ends or defensive linemen, but really for the most part, they're defensive ends or outside guys or outside linebackers. So even if they do that, they're probably going to drop Preston back into coverage anyway.
No, not Preston.
You
don't
know
drop
that's
him.
what they're going to do.
Don't drop Preston back.
Presty.
Come
He
on,
can-
you've been seeing
he
it for
can
3
do it.
years.
He can
He's
do
terrible
it.
at it. He's
I
terrible
know he
at it.
is. But, if Green Bay actually plays the 5-man front the way they should play the 5-man front, yeah, then they chew up blockers. But, yeah, your point with Wyatt, that having a guy like that with that amount of speed, if they use him right, that changes dynamics quite a bit, right? Think of the cool stunts you can do. Quay comes in on a blitz, he drops back. If the quarterback has time to throw it, there's a big, giant, fast dude hanging out in the middle of the field to reach up and snag that sucker. So there's potential there for gimmicky plays that might actually work, unlike some of the other stupid gimmicky things they've tried. So
Sorry, Wyatt says that Preston locked up Justin Jefferson in that second Vikings game.
Yeah, him
Is
and
that true?
Jair. No. Here's what David's talking about an aggressive defense. That's the other guy I'm going to say I expect a big
They
thing
have
from.
to do it. Who do you
Keyshawn
expect?
Nixon. Keyshawn
Ooh.
Nixon. If he actually starts at nickel, I expect big things out of Keyshawn Nixon in nickel. I think he's aggressive. He's a good tackler. He might get beat sometimes. He's going to get beat. So Packer fans, accept it. He's going to get beat in the passing game and coverage once in a while. But he will make more plays out of that nickel spot since we haven't seen a guy make as many plays since Charles Woodson. That's all I'm going to say.
Do you guys think that maybe with number 12 gone, that this could impact things on the defensive side as well? You think that maybe they this is just purely speculation, but I think maybe they could take more chances, play a little more aggressive on defense, maybe try to make some big plays, but maybe give up a touchdown without having to worry about, the laser beam eyes of number 12 staring at them when they come off the field if they screw up.
I
Well,
think
my
it's
thing is-
possible. I think it's.
Yeah,
I think
it's actually a philosophy change
Mhm.
in two ways. you have to understand when your quarterback is risk averse, okay, he will not throw the middle of the field. And he never got criticized by fans because he wasn't throwing interceptions. But how many 3-and-outs did we have? How many drives did we have that stalled after 5 plays and didn't get past the 50-yard line?
There's some turnovers. Yeah.
Right. In my opinion, it's the same as when Michael Redd shoots a jump shot and it's a defensive rebound the other way, and people keep saying he has lowest turnover percentage in the NBA when he was playing because he never passed the ball. No, it's the same thing. Michael Redd and Aaron Rodgers are like the same guy.
Yeah.
So what the difference is, then your defense then has to play safe as well. So they play back and wait until you screw up because your quarterback plays to not screw up. So your defense plays, I'm going to play to not screw up because the quarterback plays to not screw up.
Because then we eventually can win. We'll win a bunch of games.
Right, against crappy
against
teams,
all the bad
lose
teams
in the playoff.
Right.
But when your quarterback is young and is willing to throw the ball in the middle of, and he is willing to throw the ball in the middle of the field. By the way, heads up, quick thing to say: check out Kurt Warner's. He's got a couple videos out in the last week about Jordan Love's play in the Eagles game and in another game. I can't remember which one it was. And he shows really good anticipation throws by Jordan Love where he's getting the ball out of his hand before the receiver even makes a break. Even in a zone where there's like 3 defenders around the receiver and he still drills it in there. It's like really, really good stuff. Watch. And Kurt Warner is really positive on Jordan Love. He only has a couple things where he nitpicks at him and he's like, I'm impressed. So check that out if you can, if anybody hasn't seen it yet. But anyways, back to what I was saying. With Jordan Love being more aggressive and hopefully the Packers being more aggressive, right? Because there won't be as many stalled plays. There'll be more turnovers. Packer fans. We will turn the ball over more on offense, but we also might have more big plays and we might score more points.
Maybe not more than last year, though. Maybe not more than last year. Be pretty comparable. 12, 11, 15 interceptions.
I think it's guaranteed you're going to see more interceptions. It's going to happen.
Right.
There's more big chances, and there's going to be more big plays.
But then the defense then can also do the same thing. Because you know what? Be more aggressive. If they play passive, you can't play passive when your quarterback is going to make mistakes.
Good.
Because then the opposing offense is going to have more chances with the ball. So you need to be more aggressive and take the ball away and be attacking. And that is hopefully what they're going to do. Now, Joe Barry, who we don't know about that. He's never done that. But like I said, maybe they were pairing the Rodgers offense with a more, less risky defense.
Well, maybe that was the Rodgers influence on the whole team. Maybe that he said, this is the way we got to play. Like we're going to protect the ball. You guys need to, protect against the big play and not give up big plays and blah, blah, blah. Well, whatever. I mean, the thing is with all of it, when you take all of it apart, Ben, Rick, the biggest thing is this defense has the resources put into it that you cannot play safe.
No,
you need to play like you're a boss defense. You've got high picks. You've got all this talent. You've got all this money invested. Then frickin' play like it. Don't play scared.
Yeah.
Well, it makes no sense. It does not compute with everything they put into this defense. This defense needs to play aggressive, be dominant, make a difference, win games, not just be a reason why they don't lose games. The defense actually has to be a reason why they win games because of everything they put into it.
Look at the guys they got, right? You got the back-to-back picks with Quay and Wyatt, right? Speed. You don't get guys like that to be passive and sit back.
Yeah.
Right. Gary, the idea is that he's got the athletic potential to be a playmaker. Van Ness, playmaker. Right. Keyshawn Nixon, playmaker. Razul, playmaker. Right. Let these guys go out and make plays, not play patty cake and sit back and tackle a guy 17 yards off the ball. Right. That's not the kind of guys they've been going after. So make your game plan match the guys that you're putting on the field, right? Something's not adding up. There's a disconnect.
The only problem is there's one problem with that plan, and that's Kenny Clark. Well, he doesn't have speed, and he's not a playmaker, and he's in the middle of your field.
Neither was Gilbert.
Right. So you're two guys in the no. Gilbert made plays. How many times you
They
see
ran
Gilbert
right
doing-
at him.
Gilbert did the grave digger. How many times he's grave digging? He's eating up blockers so that Santana can go make a play. We talked about it earlier. Like, Kenny Clark doesn't eat up blockers,
That's true.
but that's the one problem. And also Preston Smith. I mean, I hate to say it. It's done. Like, he shouldn't even be on the team anymore.
He's
He's a great guy, but
He shouldn't, but the Gary injury forced him to kind of keep
I
him
know.
around, kind of.
I know.
I guess.
but I would rather see Kingsley and Agbari out there
Well,
any day of the week over
100%.
Preston Smith.
100%. The other thing with to kind of get a little further on a couple more players before we got to go before we get to Rick's last point that he doesn't know about yet, but we got to highlight Rick.
Oh,
Well, you ever got something important to say?
Well,
cut
I'll
him
give it
off.
back. I'll give it back to him in a second. But I gotta refocus here. So with the way all of this goes, I want to point out a player real quick that I expect a big season from, and that's Rudy Ford. I expect Rudy Ford to have a big
Well,
season.
if he plays,
I expect it.
he's
Rick.
in and out of the lineup at starting. He's kind of been like the right tackle where he's, with
don't
the right
care.
tackle situation. He's not always – they got the guy from the 49ers who's been mixing in
He's-
with him.
He's a gamer, and he's.
I
Gonna
know he
play-
is.
He's gonna be a good gamer. Rick,
I
what
love
do you
Rudy
got?
Ford.
I was just gonna say, I don't want to hammer on Preston. I think if they want to keep him on the team, they need to use him. He's not a linebacker anymore. It was questionable whether he's really a linebacker in the sense of being able to drop back and cover someone. He can't do that. You want to keep him. He's fairly big. He's fairly physical. Play him as a true defensive end if that's what you want to do. I think he's got some mileage left if you want to play him like that. But would Green Bay use a guy like that? So that was just what I was going to say. I don't know if he's completely washed up, but they need to use him in the role that he can still play.
You're talking
What
about
I-
the D lineman Ford, right? Don't they have the same name? They're both Jonathan Ford. Isn't that right? And
No.
then one just called himself Rudy,
Yeah.
the safety one.
Yeah.
Or
Oh,
did the
really?
D line guy call himself Rudy? I can't remember. Anyway,
No, Jonathan Ford is the big guy.
Yeah.
I think they're actually both named Jonathan Ford, but because they're both named Jonathan Ford, the safety was like, well, I'll just go by Rudy because I love that movie or something like that. Is that true?
No, I'm pretty sure
It's
that's
not
not
good,
true. And you're
Whatever.
a moron.
Well, anyway,
sounds
it's
good. It sounds like a good rumor to start. Just wait till like Aikman's talking about that on a Sunday. I don't know.
all right. Ben, did you have any? So you've already told us Quay Walker, you expect a big season from. Keyshawn Nixon, you expect a big
Keyshawn Nixon, yeah.
season from. Rick, who do you expect a big season from? Anybody
Coming
stand
into
out
this,
to you?
AJ Dillon was going to be my number one, with Aaron Jones being the 1B. Those two guys
Oh.
are both fighting for their futures, really, I think. Certainly in Green Bay, if not somewhere else. I think Aaron Jones has accomplished enough that he'll get a legitimate shot somewhere else, even if he's not retained in Green Bay. But I think Dillon has more to prove because, let's face it, there's a lot of running backs. Look at the free agent market for running backs this year, right? There's a lot of huge names that are getting cast aside. So you're going to have kind of rotational backup running back, which is, I think, what a lot of teams would see in him. He's got to go out and prove that he can be an every down guy if he needs to be. So I think coming into the start of the show, he was going to be my guy that we need to see more. Kenny Clark needs to step up, right? He's getting paid a crap load of money. He needs to either show up, earn it, stop all this covering BS, making excuses, show up and play, or they need to cut bait and run. Right? That's another guy that's chewing up a lot of snaps, chewing up a lot of money, and you're not getting the productivity for it, right?
But do you expect that? Do you expect him to have a big season?
Yeah, this is
Like,
who do we expect? I know Kenny Clark needs to do that because he's high paid. I don't expect it at all.
Do you? Because if you expect that, that's a bold claim from what we've seen
Do
from
I
Kenny Clark.
expect it? Okay, maybe not. I'm hopeful. I wouldn't bet much on it.
Ooh, David's got a sneak attack.
I think Wyatt. Yeah, I think I'm with
Devontae
David.
Wyatt
I
is
think
my guy.
Wyatt needs to show us something. We haven't seen it. I think now's his chance to break out. He's going to have help on both defensive ends, right? Outside linebacker, whatever. You got guys coming off the edge now. You should have a strong push. I think he's going to make some plays. I think he should get more opportunity. So he'd be if I was going to have to pick a defensive guy other than Quay, I think, why it would be my sleeper on defense.
All right, don't you felt rushed there? Don't feel rushed just because your wife wants to go to bed in half an hour. Don't worry about that. No problem. So anyway, okay, so I think I was really onto something there because I thought Rick was like expecting Kenny Clark to have a breakout dominant
Yeah, I know.
season,
I
and I was
was like,
like, damn, that's bold. That's putting Hafen Brothers on the map right there. Rick's bold.
That'd be like expecting Josh Myers to do good.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I think Razul, hopefully, maybe it's wishful thinking, but I'm just going to go on the assumption that the defense has to get their act together. It isn't going to be playing the super prevent defense crap all the time. So, assuming they get back to playing a normal defense, I think Razul will be a little more active in the secondary, making plays.
I
hope
actually
so.
disagree. I actually disagree, and I'll tell you why.
Why do you think?
Because I believe
he sees all you got to do is do what Jair Alexander does, and you can get all the hype.
No. I don't think there'll be
Oh,
enough plays for him to
okay.
make because I think Quay Walker and Keyshawn Nixon are going to be making the plays, and Rasul will be sitting. Now I think Rasul will he'll get some picks,
And Rudy
and
Ford.
if there's pass rush, he'll be able to read. He'll bait the quarterback and he'll make some awesome Rasul plays like he always does.
Yeah.
But I think because Quay and Nixon, I think are going to really those are my two guys I'm expecting big things from, and I think they're going to take the playmaking shots away from them. To be quite honest,
There's
that's
got to
just
be
the truth.
somebody. There's got to be a safety that also is big, and it's not going to be Darnell Savage, and that's why I pick a Rudy Ford.
No.
So I'm picking Rudy Ford to make a splash. I like David's sneak attack with Devondre Campbell, though. Or, I'm sorry, not with Devondre Campbell, with Devontae Wyatt. JJ's in here with Campbell. Wait, oh no. He says Campbell's gone. Never mind. Not saying that Campbell's going to be dominant next year. Okay, JJ, just clear that up. I do like Devontae Wyatt. What if Devontae Wyatt all of a sudden makes a bunch of splash? He could do it.
Well, I liked
like
him
it a
before
lot.
the draft. He was one of my guys.
like it a
Speaking
lot.
of literally big splashes, JJ's pointing out that between Ford and Slayton, between the two of them, it's like 650 pounds. I think it's more than 650 pounds, just to be clear.
I think so too, because I think
Those two guys
Slayton's
together,
like
that's
400
really
pounds
brushing
himself.
up against 7. They're just a couple of cheeseburgers short of 700, if you ask me.
Right? I think they're both close to 350. So yeah, damn, that could be true.
That's the big splash. Those guys jump in the pool. Dang.
Nice.
Splash.
I think on offense, I mean, maybe I'm just picturing the ultimate things happening, but I keep picturing a run first offense with play action passes and deep shots to Christian Watson. And I just think I think Christian Watson's going to have a monster season. And I'm not even he's not going to lead the league in receptions, but I think like yards per catch, big play touchdowns, like double digit touchdowns, like he could have close to 20 yards per reception and just be a monster and a huge difference maker. That's what I see. And I think he's going to be a breakout dude this year. I expect a lot from him. I really do. And I don't care what Bruce tells me and the Romeo Dobbs getting the hype and nobody's talking about Watson and blah, 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 blah. Watson's going to be the man. Like, I don't care.
Romeo Dobbs had 2 drops in practice the other day.
Oh.
Also, my guy on offense, who I'm expecting a big season from, is my guy, Josiah DeGuara. He's finally getting a chance. He's finally going to have a quarterback who'll actually look at him and maybe throw him the ball once or twice. And you're thinking, what? The Packers just drafted 2 tight ends. Why would they be throwing it to Josiah DeGuara? Well, I'll tell you why. Because he's been lining up at fullback in practice all week, all offseason. He's not playing tight end anymore unless somebody gets hurt. But he's going to be on the field, and he's going to be when Christian Watson takes top off the defense. There won't be a safety in the middle of the field, and the linebackers will be worried about the running backs. And I guarantee Josiah DeGuara will sneak just to the second level of the defense, right past the linebackers, and there'll be nobody there. And Jordan Love will throw it to him. And Josiah DeGuara is going to get you some freaking plays and some touchdowns, and he's going to be awesome. Josiah DeGuara, big season coming up.
I want to go back to Rick's point before about there's your dog about Aaron Jones.
That dog here, just FYI.
Lastly, the other thing about Aaron Jones and why I think that's a really good one, because you wouldn't necessarily think, oh man, a guy who's been so successful would be this guy that you would peg for having the this really impactful season because he's been pretty impactful to this point. But I do think with his new leadership role, with his no longer in the shadow of the other Aaron's birthday, same birthday, all that stupid stuff, and like whatever else that goes on with it, and the fact that the running play won't be called off and they might actually hand it to him a bunch of times. Like he could have a 2019-esque revival season, which would be awesome.
I could certainly see situations where Love is struggling hard to get things going or whatever, and he's just, takes it, says, put it on my back, just give me the ball, right? Like, he seems like the kind of guy that would do that, and he seems like he could back it up too. So, yeah, there could be games where he's going to be the workhorse. It really wouldn't surprise me at all. So,
yes, are we looking forward to complimentary football next year, offense and defense? Well,
it's not even next year, Lee. You're talking, it's like 2 months away,
it's
bro.
a couple months away. Packers football. It's going to be Packers football again. It's going to be exciting. Ben, let me ask you this. Do you expect the Green Bay Packers? Okay. I know we talked a lot about the defense because there's so much put into it. The resources, the money, the players, all this stuff we talked about. The defense has to be dominant. Special teams, better. We get it. We got Keyshawn Nixon, who's a difference maker returner. Jaden Reed's looking like he could be an impactful guy. Okay. But to me, this year's offense coming up is going to be scarier to opposing defenses than, I don't know, I would say in a number of years. And that's so weird, right? Because they don't have Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback. People were supposed to be afraid of Aaron Rodgers. But I don't think they were the last handful of years. But now, between all what Jordan Love was just talking about, what you mentioned that he brought up, with the running game, with new, young, actual impactful tight ends, speed of Christian Watson, I feel like this offense is scarier than the Packers offense has been in a long time. What do you think about that?
I think it can be if Jordan Love gets the ball into the playmakers' hands. That's all.
Michael Irvin's going to be on the Packers?
No. That's all we got to do, because that's the difference. Rodgers like to throw the awesome pass and not let the playmakers make a play. Jordan Love needs to put his ego aside and let the playmakers make plays. And I think he'll do it. I think that would be the thing that, certainly Watson's going to be the guy that's going to have the biggest impact on his given play most of the time, right? But it sounds like he's going to be looking to spread the ball around, whether it's Dobbs, the new tight ends, whatever. I think it's going to be hard from a fantasy football standpoint. It's going to be a nightmare having a Packers receiver, right? Who's going to have the big week? Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's good for the team as a whole. It's bad for defenses trying to plan against them.
Yep.
But I think that's what you want. Find the open guy, what's working. And hopefully LaFleur's offense lives up to what we've been expecting and wanting to see the last 3 years, right? Like let's see this clever playmaking. Let's see this ball control, move the ball, catch defenses off guard, matchups, whatever. Hopefully he's got the chops to live up to the expectations. So.
And no more running the play clock down to 0 or 1 every single time. That'd be fantastic. I'm really excited about that too.
That would be great.
JJ says, I think he likes Walker on D as a big guy he expects something from. And Musgrave, he expects on offense will be huge this season. Well, we'll see. Oftentimes,
He could be.
the Packers have not had that many tight ends that they've made into, as we went through with Ben's top 10 tight ends list a number of months ago. It was pretty sad. But maybe this is the guy. Maybe this is the time. We'll find out.
Where defense is going to want to key on, right? Our defense is going to go out, focus on shutting down Watson. Well, then the guys underneath should have a field day.
That's why I say this is the scariest Packers offense in a while, because if they try to play deep and soft and try to not let Christian Watson beat them deep, then you got a lot of open space over the middle for tight ends. You've got running space for the two dynamic running backs. And then if they have to then creep up and defend that, then Christian Watson, you let him single cover against anybody. Okay, we'll take that too. I think this version of the Packers have a counter for anything anybody tries to do to them. And that's what I'm really looking forward to. And if Matt LaFleur is smart enough to know who's in the game and call the appropriate counter play, they could they could be awesome.
I was just going to say, that means they need to pay attention and call the right plays for the guys they have out there. No, which I still don't know whether to believe it or if this was trying to cover for somebody else. But come on, now more than ever, you got to know who's on the field, so you're calling the right plays to take advantage of the matchups that you're creating. So, yeah, Matt LaFleur, it's on you. Give the team the leader that it needs. This is your team. Finally, take charge. Go out there, get it done.
All right, before we wrap it up and go to Wormtown, we have to talk to Ben and Rick and say, last thing we hear, how do we feel? Do we have expectations for Jordan Love this year? Because we keep getting information saying, temper those expectations. Oh, no, he was 50 out of 84 for 59.5%. Can't give him 60. Can't even round up in this explanation. 59.5% completions with 3 interceptions during live sessions with no pass rushers or pads during 5 practices open to reporters. So do we have to be worried about Jordan Love, or do we have expectations for him, or expectations low? Like, what do we think?
Go ahead, Ben.
My expectations are, I have him ranked. I started doing my quarterback rankings, and he is about somewhere 16, 17. So I'm not expecting him to be amazing or anything like that. But what I would say is go and watch those 2 Kurt Warner videos, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at his ability to anticipate guys getting open, to read the defense, to make fairly smart decisions when the play is there. I think the part that's going to be scary is when he gets in the red zone. He still has an issue where he forces things. He doesn't always take what's given to him in the red zone. And that's when most of his interceptions are coming in the you're talking about. They came during the 2-minute drills and in the red zones of the 2-minute drills. And they haven't been in regular, times. So I would say I'm not expecting him to light up the world, but if he can do the smart things and what Kurt Warner was talking about, I believe he could be a top 10 quarterback even next year already. At this point, I got him ranked 17th or 16th or somewhere in there. I'll go over it whenever I get that, maybe next week or whenever we get it all done with. But he's not bad. He's got some potential, and that's exciting to me. But more importantly than anything, I just want to see him get the ball to the guys who can make plays. Just do that, and we'll be in much better shape than we have been the last couple of years with a guy who just keeps drilling it into one guy or 2 guys and doesn't let the playmakers make any plays.
Just
always
remember
wants to be
that.
centered.
Remember, that is what Aaron Rodgers did early on.
I know.
He used to throw the quick slant to Greg Jennings and let him run a bunch of yards, or Donald Driver or whoever. He didn't have to have it the way that he's been doing it the last bunch of years. Rick, what are your expectations for Jordan Love?
In the words of the great and wise Allen Iverson, practice. We're talking about practice.
Not a game. Not a game.
It's practice. Right. Okay. I haven't watched film from OTAs or minicamp, but in the red zone, if this was actually game time and they're down by more than 3 points, he's got to force it. Okay, different situation. But how many of these are things that he's forcing because it is practice, and just throwing the ball away and kicking a field goal isn't what you're working on, right? real-time situation. Okay, throw the ball away. That's not helping you in practice. That's not gaining you anything. Anyone can throw the ball. I could throw the ball to the sideline maybe.
Or throw it in the ground like
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers did all last
Exactly,
season.
right? That's not a rep that counts for anything. So I'm not worried about it. Are there going to be ups? Are there going to be downs? Are there going to be growing pains? Yes. Like, we talked about this weeks past. Are there going to be more turnovers? Yes, absolutely. Is he going to be taking more chances to lead to big plays? Hopefully. But I still stand by my take from a few weeks ago where he doesn't need to be great. He might not even have to be good. He just has to not be bad to give this team a chance to win. Right? I think, we could see something reminiscent of Derek Carr from a couple of years ago with, some games where he looks fantastic, some games where it's just not there. Right. And hopefully those games, that's where you got a guy like Aaron Jones that's going to be able to step up in the running games enough to carry him and pick him up. I think fans need to stick with him. Keep in mind that this is a young quarterback, right? How many of these people that are complaining about this are, anything short of young Aaron Rodgers is a fail. How many of these same people were just, looking past this crap when Aaron was doing it the last 2 years, right? It's just they got the blinders on. It's easy to bitch and complain and trash someone rather than look at the plus, right? I mean, what gets the clicks online, right? These crappy extreme takes. That's what everyone's going for. That's the way it is these days with everything, right? Okay, yeah, bad choice, young quarterback. Well, guess what? It's training camp. Let's see what happens regular season. I think it's going to be different. Practice is the time to screw up. Practice is the time to take chances. It is the time to try to get on the same page with your receivers. I don't worry about it yet. Don't read too much into it. The guy could look awesome in practice. Do you think if he looks like, take all the finest points of Bart Starr and Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers and wrap them all into one super uber quarterback, you think he's going to look like that in the regular season?
Don Majkowski?
Oh, and Don Majkowski. What the hair? Right, like if the guy looks super awesome in training camp, does anyone really believe he's going to walk into the regular season and do that? I won't. Come on. So, relax. Get over it. Yeah, there's going to be some games that are going to suck, but overall, I think it's a net gain. I think, yeah. He doesn't have to be awesome, at least not this season. Maybe he never has to be awesome, but they could still win some games, win some playoff games with him being pretty good.
As anyone who knows who played football ever at any level, and Rick can attest, there are plenty of times you can have crappy practices and have a really great game, and plenty of times you can have great practices leading up and play like garbage. Yeah. So don't read too much into it. 100%. This is my take on Jordan Love for this year. I think he's going to have a good season, and all I expect for him to do is run Matt LaFleur's offense. I don't expect for him to make a bunch of checks, change a bunch of stuff, do all this and that. I expect him to run the plays that are called. I expect him to do use his athletic ability at times to maybe get out of trouble. But for the most part, just run the play. Hand the ball. When there's a running play, hand the ball off. When it's a passing play, make a quick decision, follow your reads, deliver the ball. He has arm talent. JJ points out he's got some weapons and he's got the arm. And Chris Sims even mentioned that too. Like his arm talent, that was one of the things the Packers really liked about him. A lot of teams really liked about him coming out. And I think based on the type of player he is a good fit for Matt LaFleur's offense. Not the melded Aaron Rodgers, Matt LaFleur offense, that has evolved the last couple of seasons. The 2019 version of the offense, Jordan Love's a good fit for that. And I think if he just runs the offense, he's going to have a very nice season. And those are my expectations for Jordan Love.
He is mobile enough that, he doesn't have to run like Justin Fields, but it's enough to pick up the first down.
Yep.
Right? It's enough to make the defense account for him if he rolls out, even running a boot, even if it's fully designed pass, right? I mean, in Rodgers' younger days, how many times did you see him pick up the first down because he was nimble enough to, all right, there's nobody here. I can run, pick up the first down, and get out of bounds without getting touched.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think Love has that in him. So I agree. I think it's a good fit for what we hope the offense can be and should be.
David,
I think it's important. Yeah, go ahead.
David points out, I went back and watched the Chiefs game. Love was not that bad. The special teams mistakes hurt them. Could have been leading 13-7 in the third quarter, David points out.
The other thing is, I think you need to, when you watch that game back again, Jordan Love was forcing the ball to Davante Adams in the first 3 quarters of that game, which the offense suffered because of.
He was trying to play like Aaron Rodgers.
And then in the fourth quarter, he just ran the offense, and they actually scored points. And that's the thing that's different about what he's going to do in the future. He's going to run the offense. He's not going to try to force it to one guy. Because Davante was, I'm not going to say he tanked it, but he wasn't trying that hard. And he was bitching and moaning and doing some doing some Rodgers crap in that game when you watch it back. And Love, I think after that, in the second half, he was just like, well, screw it. This ain't working. I'm just going to go to this guy and go to that. He's throwing to DeGuara. He's throwing to frickin' Lazard. He started moving around a little bit, and then they finally scored a touchdown and did some stuff. So I'll say it again. Watch the Kurt Warner videos. Find them. Just put in Kurt Warner, Jordan Love. Boom. You'll find both of them. He does a great job of showing you positive things about Jordan Love that can really make you as a Packer fan say, oh, we got a chance. We got a chance to not only look good, but to win the division and possibly make it to the playoffs, win the division, and maybe even do something, especially in the NFC.
Do something. I like that. But I definitely think they can win the division. Now,
I think they'll get better over time. They'll get better over the time of the season, I think.
I like that. They will grow as they go. It's time for Rick in Wormtown. Rick, you are on the verge of something big in the worm realm. Tell us what you're doing next week. I talked to your wife. She said, well, we got to talk about it on our show, Wormtown and Rick.
Yes. Unfortunately, I will not be able to join you unless I stay up way too late. Heading out next week for a conference in Scotland. So going to be in Glasgow next week, presenting at a conference there. The International Worm Meeting, which is every bit as nerdy as it sounds. 1,000+ worm scientists from all over the world coming together to talk about all things worm and probably drink some whiskey since we'll be in Scotland. But then family will be meeting me in Edinburgh for a week, so we'll hang out there and then come back. So that could be your really roving reporter, although I'm not sure how much Packer info I'd be able to get from Scotland. But I was thinking about it. I'd have to be up at 3 a.m. to try to catch your show if you start at 9 o'clock. So,
man. Well, we won't expect you next week, but we will expect a full worm report when you return at some point.
I'll see what I can do.
All right, I gotta jump out of the screen for one quick second because it's a big day. It's a big. We got to bring something back to our show. Hang on.
Uh-oh.
All right, I'm back. Oh, God, I feel kind of old. All right. Oh, jeez. All right. So, it's been a while since we've had a fart gun salute, but there are birthdays.
It's our June birthday special. We got 7 guys with birthdays.
We got all these birthdays
and Father's Day.
I know. Well, Father's Day too. Now, Rick, your birthday is coming up, but it's not. It's a couple of days, right?
Wednesday.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
All right.
And then,
so we got to give some fart gun salutes for the birthdays that are going to happen. Rick's going to be out of the country at his nerdy worm thing that he just told you about. So we got to give him a Rick fart gun salute for a happy birthday coming up on the 20th.
21st.
21st. Okay.
Nico's is the 20th.
Nico's got the 20th. Again, the same date of the original WNBA first game of all time. Nico, happy birthday, June 20th. All right. Ooh. A past birthday that just happened was the man who helped create the last birthday that we'll have here. But he is brother-in-law, brother to the stars, who's worked his butt off to help mom and dad. Andrew, thank you, sir, for everything you've done. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Oh, he
And
needs a better
last-
fart. He needs a better fart than that. There you go. Good one. That's a
And-
good fart.
Lastly, the newest and youngest of the Hafman clan of our generation, our family, Ephraim, who grew like a weed this last year.
I don't know how I did that.
I mean, the kid grew like a weed, facial hair. He's shaving. He's not even, what is he going to be? 10
weird.
years old, 9 years old? How old is he going to
He's
be?
11. He's going to be 11, but
Whatever. He's
he
already
went, from,
shaving.
he went from looking like he was 9 to looking like he's 17 in like 9 months. It's weird.
Anyway, he's going to be 11 years old tomorrow. So happy birthday, Ephraim. Oh,
And your dedicated viewers might remember him from his guest appearance a couple of years ago too.
Yeah.
that's true.
At Christmas
ter-
guest appearance.
His strong Devontae Adams take.
Yeah, he loved Devontae Adams. And then when Devontae got traded, we asked him who his favorite Packer was. He said Aaron Rodgers. So he got some problems. We need to train that kid a little better about that. But
He was young.
He's a
now
Star
he's
Wars
older and
fan.
wiser.
Yeah. Now he's like he probably knows it. He probably knows more than us.
He knows it. And he's a
For
Star
every
Wars
hair
fan.
you grow on your nutsack, that makes you smarter.
Oh, I thought you were going to say your chest. Why do you have to go there?
I got
Jeez.
Packers paint their balls on my thing. I mean, I had
What
to get to
is
it
that
eventually.
all about anyway? What
They
is
did
that all
paintball yesterday.
about?
They skipped
oh, they
practice.
did?
They went and did paintballs.
okay.
So they painted their balls.
Oh, well, they certainly would have done that with Aaron Rodgers. They would have went to like,
Well, they always do with Aaron Rodgers. They do paintball
Did
every year
they?
almost. Yeah.
hey, what do you, lastly, I like this move because remember for a while the Packers were doing the big softball thing and it was like with a current player and they tried to have a current player that would be on the team for a long time to be the face and that wasn't working out anymore. So now they've just turned it over to Donald Driver, right?
What's that?
Donald Driver is like the softball. It's like the Donald Driver
Oh, yeah,
softball.
It was
event
George
now.
Teagues before that, right?
Yeah, it was like this rotating thing. But it just makes sense. Like just Donald Driver, he can do it for like the next 30 years. Like just give it to him. He's a fan favorite, all-time Packer. Like Donald Driver, it makes so much sense. So good move by the Green Bay Packers. Also another good move before we go by the Green Bay Packers. Jordy Nelson is being inducted in the Packer Hall of Fame this year. So while they want to while they're trying to bring any of the fans back, they're a little salty about moving on from Rodgers. Well, why not bring back one of the best Packers in the last, 10, 15 years and have him inducted this year? So that makes fans a little happier too. So good move, Green Bay Packers. Good business move and good move because Jordy Nelson was a hell of a good player too.
Yeah,
So
awesome.
Packers are smart. All right, Raider Rick, we got to go. Thanks for the worm info. Thanks for being on the show. Got to let your wife go to bed. Ben, take care of yourself. Be good. Everybody else, you know what to do. Butter's here just in a second. What the? You guys are back on Fridays. Sweet. We're back, Butter.
We don't know what we're doing. We're all over
Did
the
he,
place.
did he
We
just
don't
get
know.
back from the bars? What happened?
Maybe. I don't know.
Damn. Butter, we start at 9, though. You're a little late. That's all right. You can go back. I'm sure you'll go back and watch the whole show now.
Next week, Ben's top 20 quarterbacks.
Are you committing to it? You're going to have it done?
I've already got it almost done. So, yeah.
All right. Well,
I'm
next week,
I'm
Ben's
trying
top
to get a
20 and-
spreadsheet of it so you can actually see stuff.
Wow.
Our production value is going way up on this show. That's all I know.
Just also remember, Rasul
Maybe I
Douglas
won't
is
stay up late.
basically just as good as Jerry Alexander, except a better tackler. So you make your own decision there. All right, everybody, be good, stay good, peace out, have a good weekend, and as always, it's the Pooh Show. We'll catch you next week.
Just to